It's interesting to follow the history of paintings about this scene of the Annunciation. My favorite one is by a modern painter called Tanner, and it shows Mary at the head of her bed, very disheveled, like she just woke up, and coming from the other side of the room is this brilliant golden light. And Mary looks very, very intimidated by all this. And as you go back through history and the paintings get closer and closer to the time of the actual event, there are changes. For instance, in the Middle Ages, Mary's there reading a scroll, I guess the scriptures. Mary was probably illiterate. But in the Middle Ages, she's reading a scroll, and there's a lily in a pot, and the angel has wings. But you go farther back, and the image changes. There's no lily, there's no scroll, and Mary is like this, as if she were being attacked, which is probably truer to the facts. Because Mary comes from a culture which even to this day keeps its single women secluded in the inner recesses of a house, protected by fathers and sons and brothers. For a male to be one-on-one with Mary, and of course angels are always men, Gabriel, Raphael, you know, would have been just a terrible, shocking thing. And that's the way the artist portrays it in those early paintings. Because Mary, despite what this translation says, was not engaged to Joseph. She was betrothed to Joseph, which means that the whole thing had been arranged between Joseph's mother and her mother, and then ratified by the fathers of both of them. Mary may never even have met Joseph at this point. See, we have to be careful that we don't take our ideas of romantic love from Western modern times and transpose them back to the actual events, because it most assuredly wasn't so. And so what's happening to this woman, this young woman, very young woman, is her life is being completely disrupted, not only by her parents and her family in choosing her husband, but also by this event in which God intrudes and changes all their plans. That is why Mary has always been considered the model of a Christian disciple, a person of faith to be imitated. Because faith means not believing in certain truths, because this whole thing here would have been beyond her imagination, but trusting in the God who called her, even though what he called her to was incomprehensible. David in the first reading finds himself in a similar situation. He planned to do a good thing, build a temple to the Lord, and yet God intervenes and says, no, your thoughts are not my thoughts. My ways are not your ways. We'll do things differently. And that is true in the life of every single person, because we all make plans. We all have hopes. And invariably, they are dashed or changed by circumstances outside of our control, or sometimes by the direct intervention of God, although we usually don't see it as direct intervention. Getting sick, for instance, may seem like a horrible thing. But in the long run, in the big picture of our lives, it might be one of the best things that ever happened to us. Because we don't have the vision of God. We don't see things as He does, and we don't even wish for ourselves the best. We only wish for ourselves what we think is the best. But God invariably knows what is best and wills what is best for us. So this image of Mary receiving the news is really the model for all of us. That even though we don't understand what God is doing with our life at a particular moment, and even though it seems bad we nevertheless trust. Because it's interesting, every time God calls somebody to something, be it Mary or David or one of the apostles or somebody, he always empowers that person to do what he asks of them. He doesn't say, I want you to do something for me on your own. We're always empowered. And so that's why Mary is the model of faith for the church and for each individual Christian. And I guess the message of the Sunday is for all of us as we go into our future, as Mary was stepping into her future, is do not be afraid. I am with you.